And she said, yeah, I'm a girl trapped in a boy's body. And I said, okay, you have the same heart and the same soul. I love you. We love you. Yes, you can do this. The relief that washed over her was palpable. Then the relief that I felt in that moment, because I knew that my child was going to live. I could have clung to the son that I thought I had, right? And be selfish. Or I could embrace the daughter sitting in front of me, and I chose her.
What do you really know about people who are born transgender? Have you ever met someone who's transgender? Well, if you're like me, you're curious but hesitant to ask questions. Well, welcome to Demystifying the Transgender Journey. In our conversations with people who were born transgender, their families, friends, and the professionals who support them, we ask probing questions and discover insightful and educational answers. You can also find more information on our website, thetransgenderjourney.com. Now let's get right into today's episode. Thanks for joining us today for another episode of Demystifying the Transgender Journey. This is a place where honest conversations about humanity without justification are offered to open minds, touch hearts, and inspire change. We're having in-depth conversations with people who are born transgender, their families, friends, co-workers, healthcare workers, the people who walk alongside them, because nobody transitions alone. I'm Lynn Murphy, author, speaker, leadership coach, and founder of Women Who Push the Limits. I'm the cisgender half of your host team. Joining me is Wendy Cole, a gender diversity consultant and speaker who provides her knowledge and lived experience to government agencies, businesses, and organizations to help them navigate evolving social issues by providing education and training on specifically transgender and LGBTQ plus issues. She transitioned at age 67 and is living proof that it's never too late to embrace your true self. So our goal with this program is to educate people by humanizing the transgender experience. We're bringing you conversations that open minds, touch hearts, and hopefully inspire change in the world. So share these stories with those who are ready to learn and want to know more about the transgender experience. And today's guest, we want you to meet her not because she set out to become an advocate, but because life handed her a moment of truth and she chose love. Renee Thibeau became an advocate the day her child looked at her with quiet courage and said, I'm supposed to be a girl. Renee did not get a handbook, a roadmap, or even a calm moment to try and figure that out. She got real life, real fear, real stakes, and she also got a choice. Cling to what she expected life to be like, or truly see the child in front of her. And what followed was a journey through fear, love, fierce clarity, one that transformed Renee into a voice for families who feel lost in the noise. In her award-winning style as a speaker and storyteller who speaks across the country, she pulls back the curtain for us today on what this journey actually looks like and what families want the world to understand about transgender kids. I'm going to give you a preview here. Her story includes the kind of turning point that most parents will never forget. A message that said, I'm going to kill myself, from her child. And what happened next is exactly why this conversation matters. Because when your child hands you their heart, you don't need perfect words. You need courage to show up, which is just what Renee has done. We're glad she's showing up for us today. So if you've ever wondered, what would I do if it were my child? Or how would I talk about this to my family, to my friends, to my school, my community? You're in the right place. This is Demystifying the Transgender Journey, and this is Renee Thibeau. Renee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Welcome, Renee.
So let's start talking about your family. We know you have twins. Talk about your family a little bit and about your daughter specifically.
Okay, well, I have 3 children. I have a cisgender daughter who is about to be 26. I can't believe that. And then I have my twins who just turned 18, and my daughter has a twin brother. And he has autism, and he is just love and light. He's amazing. So my kids are my everything. They're my world. They're wonderful, wonderful kids, and I'm very blessed.
Tell us about Elle, what she was like as a younger child, and what is her story?
As a young child, always very fun, funny, always gravitated towards all things girl, if you will. Dolls, playing with hair, always braiding her sister's hair and the neighborhood girl's hair and things like that. Never really played with her brother. He was always into cars and things like that. And she never took interest. And we didn't really think anything of it. We just think, okay, whatever. I mean, when I was a little girl, I played with cars and Barbies. I mean, I was just kind of whatever. Kids just play with whatever.
Mhm.
So we just kind of went with it. It wasn't really a big deal.
So she and
And
her twin were both assigned male at birth, right?
yes, they were
Yes, okay.
assigned male at birth. And so we just kind of went with it. It wasn't really a big deal. And then as time went on and we approached the twins' seventh birthday, it was the morning of the seventh birthday. And Elle woke up crying. And I was a little perplexed, like, why are you crying on your birthday? And she said, well, I didn't get my birthday wish. And I said, what is that? And she said, I was supposed to wake up a girl today. And I didn't really know what to do with that information.
That
Mhm.
would
And
kind of be a shock, a
yeah.
surprise. Yes.
And so I just said, okay. And I said, well, we have to get ready for school now. And I just kind of glossed it over because honestly, I really didn't know what to do with that. So we just went on with our school day. And then later that night, we had a conversation and we sat down and said, there's not really girl things and boy things. There are just things, men can be chefs, women fight in the war. And we just kind of glazed it over and went on with our lives. And we could see that she was still really, really gravitating towards more of the female type of things. And she was being bullied at school and called the F word. That was very upsetting. And being in third grade at the time, you just like, seriously, really. So we moved right before fourth grade to a different state. And so they got a new circle of friends. And, everything, we're just kind of bebopping along in our lives, do, 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 to do. And one day we received a call from their teacher, and they had intercepted a text message with this group of friends. And she had said to them, thank you so much for being my friend this year. I know it's the new kid and you're very nice to me, but I'm a freak and I don't belong here and I'm going to kill myself.
Wow.
That breaks my heart.
That is unbelievably heartbreaking.
In fourth grade.
Yeah. She
Wow.
just turned
Mhm.
10.
10 years old. Oh my.
We have these feelings at such an early age. And this is not a fad or a trend or anything. It's who your child is.
It's so real. It is
Yes.
so real. You are born this way. It is real.
Mhm.
To have to fight that daily of what is in here and what is out here has got to be absolutely excruciating. And I cannot imagine.
It's soul crushing. It really is.
Yes. And so um, we, of course, went to therapy right away, and we were trying to get to the bottom of it. Like, what is going on? Why do you feel like a freak? What's happening? What's happening? And we weren't really getting anywhere. And so this went on for maybe up to a week. At this point, her dad was traveling, and I was doing bedtime routine. So baths, showers, reading stories, blah, 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 blah. So I took care of her twin brother first, and then I went to big sister. Wasn't reading her story, obviously, but saying goodnight. And I saved Elle for last. And I went in and I said, we're not going to read our regular Junie B. Jones tonight. We're going to talk. And she was like, oh, really? And I said, yeah, we really need to talk. And I said, this is really serious business. And I just flat out asked, is this the 7th birthday thing? And she said, yeah, I'm a girl trapped in a boy's body. And I said, okay. And she said, what do you mean, okay? I can do this? I said, you know what? You have the same heart and the same soul. I love you. We love you. Yes, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the relief that washed over her was palpable.
I can just imagine.
And then the relief that I felt in that moment, because I knew that my child was going to live. I could have clung to the son that I thought I had, right? And be selfish. Or I could embrace the daughter sitting in front of me, and I chose her.
You saw her for who she really is.
And she
Absolutely.
is so amazing. The courage that child had, she still has, is unbelievable to me. She should not have been having to worry about that as a child. All she should have been worrying about is who she's sitting next to at lunch, or her spelling test, or whatever, right? Not mustering up the courage to tell adults that she's in the wrong body. This is what people need to understand. This is real life. This is not a phase. I just cannot express it enough. This is something that happens in utero. And it's not anything that I did wrong or any other mother to transgender people did wrong. It is biology. Okay? People need to understand this and embrace it and move on.
We're born this way. And Renee, I wish I had had a mom like you when I told my parents at 10. That would have made such a huge difference in my life. And you've spared Elle decades of struggling with feeling bad about herself, fear of rejection, and fear of society. You're truly a wonderful mom.
I second that. And Renee, so before she came out to you in those 3 years between 7th birthday and 4th grade, was there anything that you look back on and you could tell she was hiding something or something going on with her?
She was pretty much herself. I mean, we let her just express herself. She was in dance class and acting and so on and so forth. And we just went with it. We weren't going to hold her back from her creative talents. If you want to dance, go dance. You want to be an actor, act, go express yourself. So we absolutely leaned into that and let her have that outlet. So, those were the only other things, but that's basically it.
So many parents try and impose their wishes on their child. Like, my father wanted me to play baseball and football, and I wanted nothing to do with it.
Right. But the thing of it is, and I had made a video and posted it on my TikTok page and Instagram about the parents, about when your kids come out to you. You have to listen to your children and really hear what they're saying. But the main message is, it's not about the parents, not about you. It's about your child.
Absolutely.
So you got to get over the ego part of it. You got to
What
get,
will the neighbors say?
and that is also what I say. It's not about the neighbors. Who cares what people at work say? And who cares about what your friends on Facebook from 1975? Who cares? Who cares? This is about your child and their health and their well being.
Absolutely.
It is not about you. Get over it. If you
So,
love your child, you love them unconditionally, full stop. It doesn't matter.
so when you found out that she was transgender, what was going on inside you? Did you already have ideas about what it was like to be transgender, liberal, open-minded? How did you come to the point where you could just love your daughter the way she was?
Well, all I knew was that I was going to love her. I did not know anything about transgender people. The only thing I knew was that if you don't allow them to transition, that the suicide rate was high. That was the only thing I knew. That was it. I was scared out of my mind, like scared out of my mind. Like I would wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh my God, this is happening. What are we going to do? Like, what is her life going to look like? What is her future? How is this going to work? Da, 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 da. So her dad and I dove into research, and her dad is an excellent researcher, and he found the best doctors for her. And we found one of my favorite books is Raising the Transgender Child by Dr. Michelle Angelo. I got to give it that shout out. And she's actually a doctor here in the Philadelphia area where I live. And Elle's dad is very persuasive, and we got an appointment with her. and we started seeing her at the very beginning. We haven't seen her in years, but at the very beginning, we went in there and just berated her with a gazillion questions. And she really set us on the right path moving forward about how to go about everything. How does this work? What do we do? And it was wonderful. I'm so grateful. And so the very first thing we did for Elle was we bought her clothes, and she got her ears pierced, and we got her hair extensions. So this was the summer between 4th grade and 5th grade. So that was the beginning. But I have to add this little caveat in this story, and this is my favorite part. So I had mentioned earlier about Elle's twin brother having autism. And he is just a very pure soul. And in the beginning, when someone that has been in your life transitions, sometimes a little hard to get the new name right and the pronouns right in the beginning. And then you're like, oh God, I'm so sorry. When you mess up, you're like, oh, because it's like a dagger to them when you get the name wrong. It's very painful. So anyhow, we'd get it wrong. It's like, oh, sorry. But for brother, never, ever one time got it wrong. He's never, ever asked, hey, where did my brother go? Never. Just, oh, okay. Hey, all right. Hey, Elle, you want to go get some ice cream? Hey, you want to, just, okay. I really feel like the world can learn so much from him. Because at the end of the day, it just comes back to the heart and the soul. Because we're all just in this skin suit, right? It just comes down to who we are as people. The gender doesn't matter.
And how is someone's transition harming someone else? That's what I don't understand. It's nobody's business. I know I've seen pictures of your daughter, and beautiful, accomplished. What a wonderful young lady.
Thank you.
Why is anybody having issues with something like that?
No idea. It is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling. For the life of me, cannot understand it.
It all ties back to how we're born and what happened in utero.
Yes.
And that's what people don't get. And they also commingle sex and gender.
Right.
Our society doesn't get that. Everything that you're talking about is so important for people to hear and to understand the impact of that.
Yeah, it is. It is so important. And people will ask, well, what if she wants to get married? What if she wants to have kids? Well, she can do that. She can still get married. I mean,
absolutely.
Yes.
And then, it's always the question about how is she's so young to know. She's so young. No, They know it's no
Absolutely.
different from me knowing. I've always known I'm a girl. She's always known she's a girl. It's the same because it's biology. It's the chemistry in the brain. It is the exact same thing.
Most people are born totally congruent. Brain, body, same. And they think nothing of it. Your daughter and myself, we knew from a very early age. And like her, I used to pray every night to wake up a girl.
Oh,
You know, Renee, you and your husband went to Dr. Angelo. Did you take Elle to Dr. Angelo or a therapist? How did you help the children become educated about what was going on?
we all went as a family. Whoop. We all just
Mhm.
went. We all went and we all just got educated together and just started the journey together so that everybody understood all at the same time.
Boy, what a wonderful way to do that. You know, and when I think of people banning books and not wanting people to read anything about this, what a horrible thing that's doing to society. And
Oh my gosh.
for
It's
you
terrible.
to be, you know, so open and get the professionals to help you understand it, to get the children to understand it.
Well, that's the only way to learn, and that's how you fight fear is by learning,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And fear is what's driving the bus, I feel like, in this world right now. And fear feeds
Mhm.
hate because people are afraid of the unknown and then they start hating what they don't understand. And so that is my whole purpose of trying to get this message out so that people can get educated about it and then they can understand. Then the temperature is lowered and then they don't hate so much. And then they're like, oh, that's it. Oh, okay. Well, it's not a big deal. Let's move on. And, please pass the salt. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
which
it's
is how it
really
should be.
exactly
And
everything seems to be getting blown out of proportion
It does.
so
absolutely.
badly for no reason.
Yes.
And but I do believe that God gave me this very big mouth for a reason, and so now I'm finally getting to use it.
Well, how did your friends and family respond once Elle shows up at school looking like a beautiful young lady?
Great question. At the beginning, we crafted a letter,
Mm.
and it was for the people who were not in our immediate circle. People in our immediate circle, we had them for dinner and, told them and whatever. And they were wonderful and just embraced her and everything. And we had a coming out party for her that first summer. We had a big
Oh,
party
how
for her.
nice. Oh,
Yeah, it was
wonderful.
it was great. It was wonderful. And then for those people that lived at a distance, people we don't talk to all the time, but receive our Christmas card, and I didn't want them to open the Christmas card and go, "Oh, who the hell is that in the picture?" So I wrote a letter and I explained Elle's journey. And I did it for a couple of reasons. Obviously, I wanted to introduce Elle, but I also wanted to find out who's in and who's out.
Right.
Because if
Mhm.
you're out, then you're out. Sorry,
Mhm.
it's my child. If you're out, then you're out. So we mailed it out. I said, oh God, okay, it's out there. And it was such an overwhelmingly positive response. We were just thrilled. Everybody just responded with such beautiful positivity. And I have an aunt, she's passed now, but she was a nun for about 75 years. She went in the convent at 17,
Wow.
and I think she died and she was 95. She was still practicing as a Sister of Mercy. And she was the first person to call me. And I honestly did not know how it was going to go because I thought, oh, God, here we go. And her name popped up on my phone. And I thought, well, here we go, the moment of truth. And she said, Renee, what you are doing is exactly what Jesus would want you to do. He would absolutely want you to love and cherish your child. This is exactly the teachings of Jesus, is living mercy. I'm showing her mercy and love, and that is exactly the teachings of Jesus.
Mhm.
Not to get too religious here on the show, but that's my little caveat, and then we'll move on. But yeah,
Right.
Well, I wish other people who claim to be Christians were thinking the same way she does. Sure.
Exactly, because so many don't.
Yeah.
Right. The entire convent at St. Joseph's up in Maine absolutely were just, yeah, beautiful.
Wonderful. So how did her classmates respond to the school staff?
So she did not return to the same school that next
Oh,
year.
okay.
We,
Okay.
we switched her to a performing arts school that next year. We thought that would be a better fit. So she went and danced at a performing arts school the next year. So that was good just for the transition and just to let her get her sea legs under her and so on and so forth. And then the next year she was going into middle school. And she went to a middle school that was different from the kids that she went to elementary school. So we were still protecting. We were still very
Yeah.
protective at that point because,
Yeah.
you know,
You never know.
You don't want
um,
her to get bullied at school.
exactly. We still lived in the same area, but it still wasn't the same kids. However, kids know each other and, through the grapevine and whatever. Somebody, I'm not sure if it was online, might have outed her or dead named her or something. I can't remember the specifics. Anyway, so she came out online and just was like, yep, it's me. Here I am. And it was
Hmm.
beautiful and it was courageous. And she was just like, that's it. Here I am. And you can like me or not like me, whatever. And she is very well liked. And she has a great group of friends. She's a senior in high school now. She's a varsity diver. She was just voted, I don't know, I don't think it's called best dressed. I think it's called something else. But back in my day, it was best dressed. I'm really aging myself here. And there's 4,000 kids in her high school. And I think that's a pretty great accomplishment out of all those kids, and I would certainly rather be voted that than like Miss Congenial or something. Or most likely to, be an academic, whatever. So anyway, I'm very proud of her. She's gonna go places. She's great. She's just great. She is so funny. Talk about quick-witted. Oh my gosh. She is something else.
You mentioned she's a diver, so let's take a little side trip here and talk about the young lady being in sports when she's transgender.
That's another thing that just blows my mind. Okay, so she's not out there tearing up the board and blowing everybody out of the water. She's just out there doing her thing. And there have been no issues at all. She's just a girl out there diving.
Hmm.
But the thing that got blown up with the NCAA this year absolutely just chaps my hide because there are 500,000 NCAA athletes, okay? 40 of them are trans. 10 of them are female trans. 10. That's it.
Hmm.
And everybody is freaking out about 10 female athletes, but we're protecting the women and the children. Give me a break. Are you people
Exactly.
serious right now? And then the other thing is these female athletes have to be on hormones for at least a year before they can compete. And most of them have been on these hormone therapies for way longer than that. When they are on these hormone therapies, their hemoglobin levels decrease, their endurance decreases, their muscle mass by 30%. So they're
Hmm.
not at an advantage. And oh, by the way, first of all, I'm 5'2" and 115 pounds. Okay. And that's been my size up and down for most of my life. Okay. So if I'm out competing, what if I'm competing against a gender woman that's 6'2"? Because that
Right.
happens. So
Oh, absolutely.
am I going to complain about her? What if
Women
I'm
come in all
swimming
shapes
against
and
her? Her
sizes.
wings, right? Her wingspan is
Mhm.
way more than mine. Am I going to complain again? No. This is such BS. Oh my gosh, it just chaps my hide. Anyway,
So
it
how did Elle
decreases.
do going through puberty? Did
She
she have
never,
hormones?
she never did. She never went through puberty.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fortunate.
yeah.
So she had the blockers.
Hmm.
Yep. So she does the Suprelin implant, which is a beautiful little thing. It's like a very small, it's like a little tube, and it's very thin, and it goes in her arm, and she gets it replaced every year. And that blocks the testosterone. And then she wears estrogen patches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Simple.
So, yeah, never had male puberty. So it's a wonderful thing.
Thank goodness. A lot of
And
people are talking about all those surgeries that are going on at recess at school. And he's 18 now. Do we want to even talk about the surgery piece
well,
of it?
Oh, yeah. So that was a big, terrible beast that happened this year. So she has been waiting her whole life for surgery, right? Waiting to turn 18 to have this surgery. And we're ready to go. We are ready to rock and roll. We interviewed so many surgeons, and the surgeons interview you too. And people need to understand this. Okay. This is a very, very important part of the message as well. People don't just call up and say, you know what, I want to have gender reassignment surgery. Please make me into whatever. It does not work that way, people. You have to have years and years of therapy, like psychotherapy. You have to have hormone therapy, and you have to provide letters to these surgeons proving that you have had years and years of both. Okay. Before you can even get a
absolutely.
consultation, they will not even book a consultation with you if you don't send the letters prior to them booking the consultation. People, hear me. I'm telling you. So your tax dollars, your property tax and your school tax dollars are not paying for gender reassignment surgery. That's not happening. In case you weren't sure. All right. The surgeons are very, 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 very picky on who they're going to perform surgery on. So we had finally found a surgeon that Elle was comfortable with and we were comfortable with. Unfortunately, the administration that is in power now changed the age, and they raised it to 19 years of age because they're not going to fund the hospitals. So what they did was they're holding the hospitals hostage, saying, we're pulling all Medicare and Medicaid funding to your hospital if you are going to perform gender affirming surgeries. So grandma is not going to have her gallbladder surgery funded by Medicare and Medicaid if you're going to perform these surgeries. We're pulling the plug.
Wow.
Because, and how many gender affirming surgeries are they
Yeah.
really doing every year? Like hardly
Exactly.
any.
Well, they're
Right.
probably
But
doing gender affirming surgeries on cis people, but not on transgender people.
exactly. So they did that. They held all these hospitals hostage and they raised the age to 19. Why? I have no idea. Like what 1 year is going to make a difference. But anyway, it was devastating to my daughter. It was
I'm
devastating.
sure. I'm sure.
Because she's been waiting her whole life. When she's a senior in high school, she was going to have her surgery and then go off to college. I don't feel safe with her going off to college without the surgery. So she's not going to. She's going to take a gap year, stay local, go to college local, and just do her basics, get her GPA nice and high, and then transfer to wherever she wants to go after she has surgery. It's just not safe.
Right.
It's not safe because people are so ill-informed, and I just don't want someone to find out in a way.
No,
I just don't want her to get in a
Right.
predicament.
no, not at all. And you live in a very conservative area, don't you? Have you
Yes.
had issues there? Had
Mhm.
she had issues there?
Not really. A little bit here and there. She probably has some more issues than she tells me because in the past she's had issues and then I go mama bear. So I think she has stopped telling me. Honestly, she's probably afraid that I might end up in jail or something. That's not that one. It's that. But she handles herself very well.
I'm sure as she grows up and gets into her 20s, she'll just blend in.
Yeah, but she already does. You just cannot tell. You would not know. But that's the way it is with most trans people. Most people meet trans people, they have no idea. Not a clue.
Exactly.
And if you do, like, what is the big darn deal? Like, come on, people. Honest to the dear Lord, I just don't get it. Even before I had a trans daughter, I never understood what the big hubbub was. Okay, so big deal. Okay. So, what is wrong with people being different? If we were all the same, this would be the most boring place ever. We don't eat the same thing for dinner every day.
Yeah.
We don't eat bologna sandwiches every day for lunch with mayonnaise. God, let's have tacos. All right.
Well, and so many people are afraid of differences. And I don't know, maybe you have some ideas. How do we bridge the gap with people like that?
I don't know.
First of all, they have to get to a point where they're not terrified and brainwashed by all of the media out there to where they can actually function and have critical thinking and analyze things for themselves.
Right.
How do we facilitate that? Renee, have you got ideas?
Gosh, I don't know. I think about this all the time. The media is a huge, huge problem, like Wendy
Mm-hmm.
just said. I think about this a lot. I'm a huge music buff. And, like the music, like in this late 60s, 70s, whatever, like most every song you listen to talked about love. Okay.
Exactly.
And now the music isn't like that. But the people that were performing and writing that music, they're like a little older now,
Mm-hmm.
but they're brainwashed by Fox News.
Absolutely.
How do we get them back to what they were writing about? That is what is so crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we get them back. I don't know, but it's heartbreaking.
I would go visit people, and Fox News was on every TV in the
Yep.
house.
Yep.
And that's how people get brainwashed. When they actually call it state media, that's what it is. Just
Yeah.
like in Russia,
Yep.
or
Yep.
just
And
like
now
in Germany in the 30s.
Yeah.
it's all controlled. It's all
Ex-
controlled now.
Right.
So the narratives that are being pushed out are their narratives. We're not going to get the truth. We're not going to get what is really happening. So if you really want to know what's happening, you have to watch BBC, you have to watch Australian news, you have to watch Canadian news. It is such a sad state of affairs where we are right now. I don't know how we get it back. I think a lot of it, unfortunately, is going to have to burn down to be rebuilt.
You're so passionate about this, and I know you're speaking. So are you planting seeds? How did you decide that you were going to be a public speaker and speak up for this thing that you're so passionate about?
I just, I don't know. It is just burning inside of me. I just want people to understand. And I don't know. I guess it's just because I love my daughter so much.
Absolutely.
So this is your lived experience, and some of these people talking about this stuff have no idea what they're talking about.
No idea.
You're so
Most people talking about it don't have any clue.
Right. And then Nicki Minaj, who has a huge following, although a lot of them are very mad at her right now because of the sides that she's picking, she is out there bashing trans people right now, big time. And let me just tell you something. She needs to absolutely stop. She needs to get off her soapbox because she is hurting a lot of people. A lot of
Mhm.
people. Like, she needs to sit down and have a conversation with me. Let me just tell you that.
So she's uninformed, misinformed.
She is completely misinformed and filled with
Mhm.
hate because she's
Mhm.
misinformed. If
Mhm.
she would get informed, maybe, I don't know, read a book, an article, not a whole book. How about an article?
Wow, what a concept.
I know, right?
If
And
you ever
maybe
talk with her, I'll join you.
that would be awesome. And then maybe meet a trans person or two and get to know them and understand that they're just real people and they're
Mhm.
wonderful. and they're born this way. And she needs to just stop the judging and just take a step back and realize that we're all just human beings. We're here on this earth, just trying to accomplish the same thing. But the bottom line is that we are all here to love and be loved. That's the whole purpose of this life, is to love and be loved. Is it
Right.
not?
It is, or it should be anyway. I don't know if religion or faith plays anything in your life, or if it's just your concept of what this life is about is to love.
That's just my concept of life, is love. That's it.
That's terrific. So, thinking about your life, what surprises you about your life?
Oh, gosh, that's a question. What surprises me about my life? Gosh, nothing really. Nothing surprises me anymore. Really, because stuff happens every day.
Mhm.
And
You
you
know,
roll with it?
yeah. So you just have to. So literally on my license plate, I'm having put pivot because I am the queen of the
Mhm.
pivot. Because you
Hmm.
just have to pivot every day because stuff just gets thrown at you every day. You just never know.
Mhm.
And so I am the queen of the pivot, I feel like. I've had to reinvent myself and go back to school and change my profession. I don't know how many times, at least 4 times, yeah, and I got divorced after being married 23 years and being a stay-at-home mom for all that time, and then going back out in the world, and oh my gosh, and what's happening, whatever. It's a little crazy. It's a little crazy out
Mhm.
here.
And you're just going with it. You're flexible, you're going with it, you're accepting. And what I love is that you focus on your children. The things you're doing to help your children is just the most amazing thing. I wish we had all the parents doing that same thing, whether they have cisgender or transgender children. But
Well, isn't that what we're supposed to do when we have children?
In
yeah,
theory, yes.
I thought that was the whole point.
somebody didn't get the handbook, I think.
So many parents, the minute they have the boy or the girl, they have their lives all planned out, their careers. My son, the doctor, my daughter, the nurse or whatever, they just
That's
impose their beliefs on their kids. And that's something that you have not done.
Mhm.
never.
And you definitely didn't impose any gender rules.
No, that's foreign to me. I wanted them to have a great relationship with one another.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up, I'm the youngest of five, and I grew up in a house where we were always fighting. And I mean, knock down, drag out, cursing, hair pulling, just nasty, whatever, right? Big
God.
Catholic family. It was just, I don't know, the way it was. And I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And very racist family, very bigoted, very homophobic, transphobic. I grew up in a very conservative, I grew up in the Bible Belt, believe it or not. I mean, and I am the raging liberal that came out of that whole thing. And I'm very proud of that. But anyhow,
Yay.
so I said to myself, I remember when I said this to myself, if I ever have kids, I will teach them to love everyone, no matter what, as long as they are a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to have a great relationship with one another. I don't want these fights and knockdown dragouts. I want them to love and respect one another. But I want them to love everyone. It doesn't matter your religion, your skin color, how much money you have. It doesn't matter. Again, the heart and soul. That is it, the bottom line. And I feel like the human race has lost sight of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I want so badly to come back to that, at least a little bit. I mean, can we just reel it in and get back to that somehow? My God, where did it go?
Well, and the
Right.
world judges so quickly on how fat or thin or tall or skinny or white or brown or black, what kind of clothes you're wearing,
Right.
without getting to know the person. And
Right.
what you're talking about is getting to know who that person is, not just summarily dismissing a whole group of people because they're not whatever,
They're
Right.
not
whatever
like you.
they're not like you, but you don't want everybody to be like you. Like you were saying, we need that diversity.
Yeah.
Right. That's what makes the world go round.
Yeah,
That's what I
absolutely.
think. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what surprises you about your children?
Well, I will say that I can count on one hand the amount of times that they've fought with each other.
Really?
Yeah. They are
Wow.
very loving. In fact, I have to share this. This is a very cool thing. So the twins just turned 18 last week. And so their older sister made a homemade gift for Elle. And the gift that she made her was a box filled with 18 different letters. And each letter was a letter for a time when she does something where she's very, very proud of herself. So she can go to that letter and read that letter. Or a letter at a time in her life when she has something terrible happens to her and she can go and read that letter. Or when she accomplishes something, like different letters like that. I'm probably telling it terrible, and they were very meaningful letters that she wrote. She's probably going to kill me. Mom, you didn't even describe it right. But it was a very, very tender and thoughtful gift. My children are very thoughtful to one another. My son is having surgery, and my girls took the day off to go and be there with him. Like, they're not going to miss anything. They just are so supportive and wonderful with each other. I don't
And
know.
that's a tribute to how you raised them.
Mhm.
I guess, but I don't know. But they're just great humans. And I don't know. I'm so proud of all three of them.
Oh. So what are your dreams for your daughter?
That she ends up doing whatever she chooses to do in this life and she loves doing it. And that if she chooses to have a partner one day, that she finds that partner and they love each other equally with reciprocity and respect, and that she has a wonderful, fulfilling life.
How wonderful.
How
Well,
beautiful.
And
That's really beautiful.
I know you're focused on that and helping her achieve that too, which is just remarkable. So thank you for that. I know you've got a dream too, don't you? A vision for something that you would like to accomplish in this life?
Oh, sure.
You want to talk about that, or your
I do.
foundation?
I would just love to go out and public speak. I would love to bring this to a TEDx stage, or anyone that would have me go out and speak and get this message out and educate people on what being trans is, because it's so important for people to understand this is real life. I'm just a real mom raising a transgender daughter who is just an amazing human being, filled with courage and love and dreams, just like any other child.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you're a great speaker and you're so passionate. And you've got the lived experience, Renee. That's the thing, that you know what you're
Mhm.
talking about and you're speaking from the heart. And so I hope everyone who hears this will tell somebody else and then they'll get you to speak. We need to plant those seeds. That's what we're trying to do, is plant seeds,
Thank you.
educate people. And we hope that happens for you too.
Absolutely.
I know you've given us great amount of advice for parents and just for casual observers who don't know what they're talking about. Is there anything else that you want to share that needs to go out to this audience today?
just just open your hearts and your minds, and maybe just read an article or two, and
Hmm.
just try to understand about the biology. If nothing else, just learn about the biology of transgender people. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah. And we've got a couple episodes that will help them do that too.
Yeah.
We'll
Absolutely.
in our show notes. But
Renee, you are definitely a superb mom, beautiful human being, and a living example of what it means to be an informed ally.
Thank you.
Well, Renee, do you want to give us some contact information or tell us what we can put up in the show notes so people can contact you?
Oh, sure. So Renee Thibeau, and my email address is naynuk31@gmail.com. I made a new TikTok page and I had to rename it, and I forget what I named it. I had to make a new one because my account got suspended because I support transgender people. Is that crazy? We live in the upside down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think my TikTok channel is called Renee Returns to Love, or Return to Love, something like that.
Okay,
Because I was just going to make a series about returning to love, and just like, you know how like when we're little kids and you go to the playground and you're playing and you just become best friends with someone in 5 seconds, and you don't vet anybody, you're just best friends and it's wonderful. Like, why can't we just go back to that?
Exactly.
Renee, this has been fantastic. So let me just wrap up a little bit, because Renee's story is one that I'm not going to forget. It really reminds me that this is not about politics or talking points or memes or fear, but it's about a child that's asking to be seen. And what struck me a lot about Renee, she didn't respond to Elle with a script. She didn't have a handbook and check the boxes, but she was there with her presence, with her love, and with listening, and with a refusal to let shame claim any space in her home. This was normal, this was natural, and she was honoring who her daughter is and was. And you could hear in that moment when her daughter asked, "You mean I can do this?" And Renee said, "Yes." That wasn't a small yes. That was really a life-saving yes for Elle and for this wonderful family. And Renee made something else clear to us today, that families aren't making trans kids. They're not going to school and getting surgeries at school, and they're not doing it for attention, all these crazy things that people believe. But it's really much more simple. It's more human. It's a kid telling the truth about who they are, and the people around them then get to decide whether they'll meet that truth with care and with love or with cruelty. And unfortunately, there's too much cruelty. So if you're a parent, a teacher, a coach, a neighbor, a family member, Renee's given us a gentle challenge. I'm giving you a gentle challenge to carry with you, that when a young person tells you who they are, believe them and treat them with dignity. And she also said you don't have to understand everything in day one, that they took time to understand what was going on. But in day one, you can choose kindness. So Renee, thank you for your honesty, for your humor, for your passion, and for your refusal to look away, to concentrate on those, the heart and the love of those children. And to everyone watching and listening, thank you for being here, for leaning in, and for helping us build informed allies who can multiply compassion in a real world. On behalf of Wendy Cole and me, Lynn Murphy, thank you to our audience for spending the time with us on Demystifying the Transgender Journey. And if you found this episode meaningful and informative, heartwarming, any one of those would be fine. But please like, subscribe, share with somebody who needs a clearer, more human understanding of what people born transgender and their family are experiencing. Your share really helps this message travel farther than we could ever do that alone. So until next time, stay curious and stay kind. Thank you for joining us today on this episode of Demystifying the Transgender Journey. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of our fascinating interviews. You can also find more information on our website, thetransgenderjourney.com. So until next time, stay curious and stay kind.